Now, the next thing or the next area which requires um, like it has to go through a proper threat management process will be your devices. Well, in terms of protecting devices, we have got plenty solutions available. Let me tell you some of the important ones. Number one, uh, we can enroll devices in Intune, especially if you want Intune to act as your MDM, mobile device management, and MAM, mobile application management platform. There are a lot of different ways with the help of which you can enroll a device in Intune. If you Entra ID join a machine, and if you have configured synchronization between Entra ID and Intune, the moment you Entra ID join, or the moment you Entra ID register, or the moment you Entra ID hybrid join a device, the device can get enrolled in Intune. Let's assume that we have configured this enrollment process. Okay. After that, how Intune contributes towards device protection. Number one, there are so many different policies we can create in Intune. Intune can configure encryption policies to encrypt the device, the drives of the devices. Intune has got ASR policies, attack surface reduction policies, with the help of which we can reduce the surface area of attack by enforcing certain restrictions at an endpoint level. And Intune has got plenty security policies. You can integrate Intune with the conditional access policy as well. I mean, you can create a conditional access policy where you will set up a rule that all the users within my organization will be able to access the applications only if they satisfy a condition, and the condition is multi-factor authentication must be turned on, or maybe as long as the devices has been deemed compliant by Intune, then only they can access application from those devices. So we can offer protection uh, by integrating Intune with conditional access policy. Because in conditional access policy, there is a condition allow consumption of apps only from those devices which are marked, which has been marked compliant in Intune. We have also something known as MDE, which I have mentioned a few minutes back. MDE stands for Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, which you get as a part of your Defender XDR subscription. So the way it works, you need to download an onboarding script. Obviously, you will not be onboarding individual devices. You will have some sort of ESD solutions, enterprise software deployment solutions like System Center Configuration Manager, with the help of which you can bulk execute this onboarding script across different devices. So when you run these kind of onboarding scripts across devices, the devices gets enrolled in Defender for Endpoint. Now, once those devices gets onboarded within Defender for Endpoint will proactively monitor those devices. By the way, Defender for Endpoint is an example of EDR, endpoint detection and response. It can not only detect threats, it can respond as well. I'll give you an example over here. So let's say I have got a bunch of endpoints onboarded within Defender for Endpoint. And let's say a very suspicious file, let's say Mimikatz or PW crack, has been detected on one or certain endpoints, few other endpoints. Not the same file, maybe similar kind of file, similar nature file. These two files which I've mentioned, Mimikatz and MIMIKATZ, that's Mimikatz, and the other one is PW crack. PW is a short form of password, and crack as in crack, CRACK. These two applications are credential harvesting application, password theft tool. The moment this kind of suspicious files having suspicious signatures gets detected on one endpoint, immediately an alert gets generated for the SOC team to investigate on. It will generate the alert, but it will try to find out similar kind of alert across all the other endpoints. There might be similar attacks or there might not be. If similar kind of attacks are detected across multiple different endpoints, multiple alerts reflecting each and every endpoint gets generated. And all these alerts gets correlated within something known as an incident. And Defender for Endpoint will automatically start investigation on that particular incident, and it can take auto remediation. Now, it is up to you what level of automation do you want to perform. or do you want to achieve? We have got three levels in Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. We have got full remediation. As and when threat gets detected, it gets remediated, no questions asked. We have got semi-remediation. As and when threat gets detected, Defender for Endpoint will tell you about the recommended action for the mitigation. You need to approve it, then only Defender for Endpoint will take those. And no remediation means it will not take any action. It will generate the alerts as well. Alerts only. Okay. So this is how Defender for Endpoint works. Um, this is the investigation part of it, right? Defender for Endpoint will offer investigation, but Defender for Endpoint can also offer remediation. In Azure, we have got tools like Azure Apps, Logic Apps, Playbooks, especially Playbooks. Playbooks are powered by Power Automate. Power Automate is nothing but a new name given to Microsoft Flows. So you can basically trigger these kind of playbooks. Like for instance, too many failed logon attempts by a single user, you can create a playbook to disable the user account. Let's say a suspicious file has been detected on a specific endpoint, you can run a playbook to isolate the device from the network just to stop the level of penetration. This is one. We have got Defender for Endpoint. We have also got something known as MDC. The full form of MDC is Microsoft Defender for Cloud. It used to be known as Azure Defender previously. Now it is known as Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Now, Microsoft Defender for Cloud exists in two different levels, two different subscription tiers. Number one is the basic subscription. If you have got the basic subscription, you get a feature known as Cloud Security Posture Management, or CSPM. What exactly is that? CSPM is a method with the help of which an organization can link compliance standards like ISO, GDPR, NIST, HIPAA, SOC, and so on with their organization. And the resources hosted in Azure, which can be a PaaS database, it can be a virtual machine running in Azure, it can be a storage account acting as a storage repository in Azure, it can be a key vault in Azure, um, storing encryption keys, application secrets, certificates. So these, if you have not configured these resources as per compliance standard, then it gives you a recommendation what needs to be done, what kind of configuration needs to be applied on these resources so that they can become compliant. Now coming back to the device protection. If you upgrade the Microsoft Defender for Cloud Protection plan from basic to advanced, on top of Cloud Security Posture Management, you get a feature known as Cloud Workload Protection Platform, or CWPP. As a part of Cloud Workload Protection Platform, what happens is, as and when you deploy resources in Azure, those resources automatically gets onboarded by Defender for Cloud. And as and when threat gets detected, the alerts are generated. But the thing is, Microsoft Defender for Cloud does not have any remediation on its own. It relies on a playbook to remediate for any kind of remediation actions. By the way, Microsoft Defender for Cloud will not offer protection for all Azure resources. We can create over 500 plus Azure resources, but Defender for Cloud will not offer protection for all the resource types. It can offer protection on at number one, an endpoint level. If you start creating virtual machines in Azure, the virtual machines gets onboarded within Defender for Cloud, and the threat gets detected and it gets remediated with the help of playbooks if you have got a playbook. So Microsoft Defender for Cloud can offer protection at a device level. Now, if you're wondering, okay, what about our on-premises devices? If I've got on-premises servers, if I've got on-premises app servers, if I've got on-premises databases, will Defender for Cloud detect those devices and offer protection? Absolutely, yes. For that, you will have to install a service on the on-premises servers known as an Azure Arc services. Once you configure Azure Arc service, you will have to create a rule known as a DCR rule, which stands for Data Collection Rule. And data collection rule uses AMA, Azure Monitoring Agent, to grab the security information from the on-premises servers and then ship it to Microsoft Defender for Cloud so that Microsoft Defender for Cloud can detect those kind of threats. Just for your information, on a side note, Microsoft Defender for Cloud offers protection at a device level. It can be a virtual machine or it can be an on-premises server. Defender for Cloud can also offer protection for storage accounts. If you have got storage accounts in Azure offering you the storage services, if you have created a key vault in Azure with the intention of storing certificates, encryption keys, and application secrets, if you have got containers hosting applications in Azure, Defender for Cloud will offer protection. Then if you're trying to deploy any ARM templates using in Azure, because in Azure, what happens is we will not generally we don't manually or graphically deploy a resource. Like think about this. Let's say in your organization, you have got a standard of deploying a virtual machine as per certain practices. Like the region should be such and such. The minimum specification of the virtual machine should be such and such. RDP needs to be turned off due to security reasons. Now, if you start creating these kind of resources manually or graphically, then there can be mistakes. So generally we create ARM templates and we deploy using those ARM templates. Although ARM templates are becoming old fashioned these days, there are better ways of deploying resources in Azure using things like infrastructure as a code, using things like Terraform. We have got Azure Biceps, we have got Azure Blueprints. But coming back to the context of this Microsoft Defender for Cloud, if you start deploying any kind of resources using ARM template, and if Microsoft Defender for Cloud finds any kind of suspicious, like statements within the ARM template which doesn't look right, it will not allow you to deploy that resource using the ARM template. So these are the different kinds of solutions we have got, which offers protection at a zero trust level for the devices. I'll just quickly repeat once again. We have got this Intune. If we assume that we have integrated Intune with the Entra ID, as and when devices gets enrolled in Entra ID, enrolled means joined, registered, hybrid joined, the device will eventually end up in Intune, and then we can create all sorts of security policies in Intune to protect the devices. This Intune is also tightly integrated with the conditional access policy, and we can create a conditional access policy where we will be granting access to apps only from those devices which has been marked compliant by Intune. By the way, in Intune, we can create a policy known as a device compliance policy. So within the device compliance policy, I can include things like the minimum version of the operating system should be such and such. The Windows updates should be machine should be having needs to have latest Windows update. The drives within the machine must be protected using BitLocker and so on. If any one of the conditions are not getting satisfied, the device will be treated as a non-compliant device, and through conditional access policy, we will block access from that particular device. And then obviously, we have got this MDC, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, which will offer protection at a device level, at an endpoint level, because one of the main features of Microsoft Defender for Cloud is cloud workload protection platform. Workloads are the resources which we can deploy in Azure, and endpoint devices are one of the resources that can be deployed in Azure.